On behalf of the Crockett Area Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's Meet the Candidate Forum. I'd like to take care of a housekeeping issue real quick. We do apologize. Unfortunately, the water has been turned off to the building, so we do not have restrooms available for anybody. Again, we apologize. It's beyond our control, but the water has been turned off. Tonight, we're going to be getting to know the candidates for the Houston County Hospital District elections. And we'd also like to thank the Houston County Elections Office, who's going to have a table set up outside so you can get additional information about the election, such as polling times and locations. We'd like to also welcome Pastor Keith Smith from the Temple of Praise in Kennard. And at this time, we'd like to ask everybody to please stand for prayer.
Will you bow your heads with me and let's pray together. Heavenly Father, first and foremost, we just want to give you honor and glory and give thanks unto you for this day, for your unlimited mercy and grace that you give to each of us, even when we're not aware or not expecting it. So first, we give you honor and glory for that. Now, Lord, I ask that while we continue with this gathering today, this meeting, that we ask your blessings upon the candidates and those of us that will be watching and observing. Ask, Lord, that your will be done. Your sovereignty will take place in this place today. Give peace round about, that our minds be clear, that the candidates' minds be clear as well. And Father, we just want to give you honor and glory. And when it's our time to leave, we ask that you give us traveling mercies and grace upon us as we go to our respective places. We ask this all in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing. At this time, we would like to welcome Latexo student Claire Cato, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated, please. We now ask that everybody please silence your cell phones and be respectful to the candidates. They will be available after the forum for individual questions, so please hold them till then. And at this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Greg Ritchie, who will be the moderator for tonight's forum.
Can everybody hear me okay? Is that good? Yeah, good. Thank you, Carl, and thank you to Ms. Cato and Pastor Smith for being out here tonight. Also, Cindy Lum from the Houston County Elections Commission. I think she just closed the office, so she's rushing over here. She'll be outside with additional information about voting. Early voting began yesterday, and it will go through May the 2nd. The actual elections will be Saturday, May the 6th. As usual, we're going to bring our candidates up here in a second. I wanted to take a moment to recognize a gentleman who I didn't have the pleasure of knowing, but I got to know him a little bit through talking to his family and some of the members of our hospital board. That was Dr. John Stovall, that passed away just recently, a founding member of our hospital board and the Piney Woods, and the Piney Woods Fine Arts Association. So thanks to him and prayers to his family. I think Dr. Stovall is a pretty good example of what I know the Chamber and the Messenger and a lot of us are trying to do, is to increase, participation in our community. This is where we live. It's our hospital, it's our schools, it's our city. And the more we participate in these kind of events, I think the better we'll all do. Now, we do have some people coming in late. I think there's a Crockett City Council meeting tonight. Are we live streaming tonight on YouTube? Hello, YouTube. To all of our viewers tonight in the Lima, Peru suburbs, buenas noches. Get that out of the way. We're going to have two sessions tonight. The first one is going to be for position 5. We don't really take questions from the public or comments or anything like that. There'll be plenty of time after the forum if you have any specific questions for them. Of course, we invite those, and I'm sure the candidates want to thank all of them for being here as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our two candidates for position 5 for our hospital District. Challenger, the candidate, Ms. Tammy English McCrate. Also on the ballot, the incumbent, Mr. Roy Langford. Now, I should point out, please, y'all have a seat wherever you're comfortable, and then we'll kind of come to the middle. What we'll do is we'll ask each of you a question in turn, and then whoever answers last can just stay there. They'll go first the next round, and you're welcome to use the podium here with the microphone. As always, the delightful Mrs. Cheryl Balmer is on hand. Thank you. When you hear we don't have a gong, so when you hear the bell, if you would kind of wrap up your thought or your sentence, and we'll move
I'll
on.
also give you a 3. I'll give you 3 for 30 seconds.
3 for 30 seconds. I'll see you that and give you 4 for 40 seconds. Do I hear 5? Do I hear 5? All right. Ms. McCrate, let's start with you, if you would. 2 minutes. Please tell us about you, who you are, and your background.
Hello, my name is Tammy English McCrate. I'm a lifetime resident of Houston County. I'm married to Mike McCrate. We have 4 children, Ashley, Jordan, Matthew Milliken, and Madeline Smith. I am a registered nurse for the last 29 years. I have been employed at this hospital consecutively around about 14 years, medical and non-medical. I started out as a unit secretary down on Station 2. I'm currently employed with UTMB Galveston, where I'm a registered nurse in the emergency room there. I'm certified in emergency nursing, as well as sexual assault of adults and pediatrics. I was raised in Kennard, lived most of my adult life here in Crockett. Very active with the Latexo Lady Tigers. I have an utmost desire to serve this community in the best way possible. And I feel like I can do that through the hospital board.
Thank you very much. Mr. Langford, if you will, tell us about yourself and your background.
I'm Roy Langford. I moved to Houston County in 1995 from Dallas. Met my wife here. Unfortunately, she passed away about 3 years ago. We have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. I worked with Tammy in the ER setting. I've been a paramedic for 44 years. 35 of those years have been in the management field with writing RFPs, proposals for hospitals, EMS. I just got through doing a proposal this past week and turned it in today. So contracts I know. I think that I have a lot for the community. There's some things that I like to do. I think our money that we spend, we need to spend it wisely. I think that having a hospital here is very important for not only the community because of the elderly population that we have, but for the younger population too, like I used to be, that didn't quite do things like they were supposed to, and needed an ambulance or 2. But with the hospital, if we lose the hospital, if we didn't have a hospital, we'd end up losing businesses. Growth would die in Crockett. The first thing people ask for is, what's your schools like and what's your hospital like? And then they want to know about taxes and different things like that. So anyway, I hope that you vote for me and reelect me, and Tammy and I'll get along great because we've been friends for a long time.
Very good. Mr. Langford, if you'd like to stay up there, we'll get your take on the next question. What is the most important role that the hospital district board has or should have?
The management of the taxpayers' money. I think that not only are we supposed to manage the taxpayers' money, but we're also the managers of the lease for the hospital. The hospital, when we lease it out, we are not responsible for paying doctors, staff. That's the leasee that we sign with. But we do manage the contract. make sure that they're doing the things they're supposed to do, and make sure our hospital building is staying operable. If we don't do that, then the hospital will start falling down. And this, as everybody knows, is a very old hospital. It was here several years before I ever moved here, and it's going on 30 years now. So what is it, 70 years old at least? So it's very important. The main, or the second building that was built, two-story building, it's been here for 25 years now, I think. I think it was finished like 3 years after I moved here. So it's important that we make sure that our building stays operable, that we have a good hospital provider who takes care of their employees and our county assets, and also make sure our money's being spent wisely.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. McCray, same question. What do you think the most important role is or should be for the hospital district board?
The most important role is to keep the hospital open and functioning to the best of its ability. When I talk about functioning, I'm not talking about the ins and outs of the doctors, the nurses. That is who runs the hospital as far as the internal workings of a hospital. I'm talking that we use the taxpayers' dollars efficiently, but keep the hospital here. We don't have one, we lose lives. We lose business. We have schools that even have programs that for future healthcare workers and that have had the opportunity to come into our hospitals and do on-site training, on-site classes with the areas that they have wanted to do as they progress in their education. So losing a hospital would be extremely detrimental to the community, for our health, for our future as an economy, and for the education of our students. And in doing so, the board's responsibility is to govern the laws that we have to meet to keep the hospital meeting all codes and the requirements of the lease, or I'm not sure if that is the correct terminology to use when we lease or have a new operator come into the hospital. But to also, another responsibility to the board is to bring in further providers, or to help bring in providers to offer specialty services, primary care.
If you'd like to stay at the podium, Ms. McCray, you can take the next question first. You both talked about the leasee, the administrator. We just recently had a change in administrators, as many people may know. Is, in your opinion, the most important factor in a negotiation with an administrator or a leasee?
Okay. That's a good question, because when you talk hospital administrators, to me, I think of CNOs, CFOs, and things of that nature.
Right.
So when we're talking about bringing in another hospital group, one of the most important things is to look at their stability, their mission statement, why they wanted to come here, what they can bring to us, what they can offer us as versus another hospital. As far as negotiations, we offer a building. We have CTs, we have MRIs, we have the MOBs. It's hard for me to give you a negotiation because I'm not in the actual board at this time.
Sure. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Langford, same question. What would you consider the most important factor when negotiating with a new hospital one that administrates the hospital?
Well, Tammy was hitting it on the head there for a little bit. So she's right. We need to negotiate, look at their, we kind of want to look at their background, see what they're like. People speculate, and sometimes those speculations becomes fact, which then it's not. So you have to do your own investigation to check on those speculations to make sure that they're factual. So one of the things that a board does, I'm not on the negotiation committee either, so, but I've done a lot. What we do is we go in, we look at the company. We see what their mission statement is. We make sure that they are a good fit for us. Sometimes you have to move fast on things to keep the hospital open, keep doctors in, keep EMS in faster than you really want to move. But the alternative is a closed door hospital. So with that, one of the things that we negotiated with was, when they could take over. And he's taking over pretty quick because May 1st was the deadline that we were given. There are some things that were said that, the guy has a 5-year contract. You're right, he does. The Timberlands was here with a 10 or 20-year contract. They closed after 6 months. So it doesn't really matter about a contract. It does, but people come in under corporate names, they close the doors, and they file bankruptcy. So what do? You have an empty building. Trinity was empty for 6 years now, and they're just now getting on their feet where they can open again. But they lost their grandfather clause. We would have lost ours if we hadn't moved fast. I wasn't on the board when they moved with this guy, but they had to move fast or they would have lost it. So.
All right, Ms. Langford, if you'd like to stay at the podium, you can start off our next question. Do you think citizens in this county are taxed fairly and that income is used wisely? What would you think we could change or improve or somehow make better?
Well, when I first got on the board, I thought the tax was too high. 15 cents was high, and we made a motion to lower it to 13. I think I did that last year, 2 years ago, and then it got moved to 13, and then it stayed at 13. Some wanted to move it to 11. I thought that was a little low because of some of the things that we needed to do. But yeah, I think we need to watch our tax and make sure that we're taxing people fairly. Some people, it may not matter if your tax goes up $10 or $20, but then there's some out there that are barely holding on to their property and they don't have the money for medicines and stuff. So we got to make sure that those people, we don't hurt them in the community. But then again, we also need the money to keep our hospital flowing, to keep medical. It's not cheap. It's very expensive. The EMS, I got asked a question, why are we paying a subsidy to them? The subsidy we pay is not even half of the cost for one 24-hour truck for 1 year. Now, when I was running EMS, the cost for a 24-hour truck was $500,000 a year, our cost. I got informed by my CEO at lunch the other day that our cost now is $700,000 a year. So you're not even really paying half of what the cost is to keep one 24-hour truck open in a subsidy. And we have two 24-hour trucks and a 12-hour truck, and you have an offline supervisor who can make emergencies. Now, that's unheard of in a town this small, to have that much equipment and that much management. So we're lucky. And I think that we should do everything we can to honor the taxpayers with what we do.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Ms. McCray, if you will, same question to you. Do you think that the citizens are taxed fairly and that income is used wisely, and what would you want to do to change that or improve it in some way?
The word taxes and fair in one sentence is a pretty scary thing. I don't think anybody thinks they get taxed fairly. But what we have to look at is where we are with the limit at the 13 cent, I think it is currently, and where the state says is the max without us having to go to vote with the public. I believe that we are using it at this time the best we can, but with the economy the way it is, with the instability of the economy, as we've all seen. I'm a taxpayer. I have property here in Crockett. I have property in Kennard. I don't like paying taxes any more than anyone else, but I understand the purpose of this tax versus some of my federal taxes. What we are doing now is the best I can say is that we are doing well with what we have. We're going to have to look into the future to see what's going to happen because the cost of things we have no control over. Everyone's car insurance has gone up, I'm sure, tremendously, as we've all noticed here lately. Repairs are getting more expensive. we're going to have to look at spending that tax dollars even wiser. To improve or change, I just believe there needs to be more transparency for the taxpayers so they are more comfortable with what we are spending it on and giving them an explanation. I think they would be more apt to change, whether it was up or down, if they understood what was going on.
All right, Ms. McCray, if you'd like to stay in place, you can take the next one first here. In your opinion, what's the biggest healthcare need in Houston County? And how will you be able to help alleviate that need if you're elected to the board?
The biggest need for Houston County is the hospital. That is the biggest healthcare need. We have DPS, we have Houston County Sheriff's Office, we have Crockett PD, we have farm areas. We have to have an emergency department that's up and functioning. Even though we're not designated as a trauma center, we still function well above. Okay, those nurses out there are fabulous. Keeping the hospital open is a priority, as well as helping to recruit other primary care physicians so that people have access to health care in our area. We have the MOB that has some spots that we could hopefully bring in some specialty services, working with the new operators of the hospital to see what they have available and to help bring more to the community as far as healthcare goes.
Thank you very much. Ms. Langford, sir, the same question to you. Your opinion, the greatest single healthcare need in Houston County, and if reelected, how will you work on the board to help alleviate that?
Well, the most single need is to keep the hospital open. I mean, everybody agrees on that. Without the hospital, the whole community would die. You know, we'd just lose businesses. The schools would, shrink. So we just can't allow that to happen. As far as bringing in new providers, I think if we're going to bring in providers or try to help the hospital that we've contracted with to bring them in, I think specialty is what we need. We've got a lot of good family doctors that are here. Mine just moved over to the hospital, he's a great guy. But we need some specialties. From what I heard, we have orthopedic, which is great, but what about a general surgeon? What about, I worked in surgery with Dr. Walker, and he was great with his surgery techniques. He's one of the best surgeons I ever worked with. And he was skillful in not just general surgery, but also in vascular. And he loved to teach. So, my thoughts on getting someone like him in here would be an asset to our hospital, because we have a lot of dialysis patients that have to go out of the city now to get their grafts done, and they used to get them here. There's just a lot of different things. She gave me the 30 second, or she gave me 3 more minutes, I guess. So
She may have just been scratching. You can't.
I probably wasted 20 seconds saying that. But anyway, the single needs the hospital. We all agree on that. We need to keep the hospital open. We need to keep it functioning, and we need to get specialty in here.
Ms. Langford, if you want to stay put, we'll put the last question to you, sir, very simply. Why you and why now?
I don't know.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, actually, I'm just me. I don't vote to go along to get along. As the last vote went, a few people saw. I vote my conscience. I vote what I think is right for the community at the time. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I own it. But I don't think it was wrong this time. Some people get mad at the way we vote. Some people don't. But I will vote what I think is good for the taxpayers. If raising taxes is what has to happen, I'm with Tammy on let's be transparent. Let's get the word out. Let's let everybody know why we need to go above the 15 cents. I don't think we're there yet. But if it ever happens in the future, whether I'm on the board or not, we need to let them know why. We need to make them understand the cost and why we have to do this. We can't just go, oh, we're going to raise it, and expect them to go for it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I was told that I'd vote no. You know, I'll be honest about it. We got to let them know. Hopefully we don't have to do that. But in the future, who knows what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years. I know contracts. I think some of my comrades found that out talking to the attorneys the last few times. And, you know, I just know the business end part of it. I've done it too many years. I'm not perfect by any means, but I will do the best I can. So if you vote for me, I'll do the best I can for the community.
All right, Ms. Link, thank you. And Ms. McCrate, if you will, finish us off and tell us why you and why now.
I have a lot of knowledge that comes back to medicine. I can bring to the board a knowledge of hospital function, hospital cost, the importance of fixing something now versus fixing something later. I understand Medicare, Medicaid, indigent care. I understand when they start talking HCAPs, when they start talking about rehospitalizations. I understand the need of our community, the economics of our community. I believe I can bring to the board my knowledge of how a hospital functions to help better understand and help better spend the tax dollars, keep our doors open, work with contracts, work with negotiations, just like as Roy had talked earlier about the EMS. There was, from the nursing end of it, I would have asked some other questions and being on the board. I decided to do it now because we have a board, as with all governing oversight or governing committees or government, you have the Republicans, the Democrats, you have the pros and the cons, you have the ones for this, the ones for that. That isn't obvious. But the main thing is you have to work together as a board. You have to remember your focus. You have to remember what you're there for. You're always going to have some opposition, but you got to remember that the main purpose that you're there is to meet the needs of the community and do it efficiently.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for Mr. Langford and Ms. McCrate? All right, we'll do our musical chairs in a minute. Good job. By the way, I'd like to, while we're getting fresh bottles of water, I thought there was no water.
There's
You brought-
no,
you brought
there's
your own.
no, there's no water in the building.
I noticed some students from Crockett High. We have some students from Latexo High. Some of our hospital board members are here as well, so welcome to all of y'all for being a part of this. I would offer to take a quick bathroom break, but the bathrooms are out of order, so might as well just press it. All right. Yeah, well, I tried. All right, let's welcome, please, our three candidates for position 1 on our hospital board, and let's begin that with Mrs. Kim Spellman. Choose to sit anywhere you want.
I'll sit closest to you.
All right. Now, let's invite also our next candidate, Mr. Buddy Klontz. Now, you can, if you want to hand your notes out, that we could read along as you go through.
No, I might need to change.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And last but not least, incumbent and current hospital board president, Ms. Barbara Krause.
Howdy.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Same format as before. Each of you would have a couple minutes to answer each question. I'll kind of bounce around so nobody goes first or last every time. Mrs. Cheryl Balmer is on duty as always. Let's make a quick test. There it is. Very good. Are you finished? Thank you. Very good. When you hear the ring of the bell, if you would, just finish up your sentence or your thought, and we'll move on. So why don't we get started in this order right here? Ms. Spellman, if you would like to come up to the microphone and please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Hi, I'm Kim Spellman. I am married to sweetheart darling Chuck Spellman. Many of you know my father, Jack Mims. My grandparents and parents moved to Crockett around 1970. My dad lives in Shady Grove. He was the town square barber. We kind of had a weekender place here. Chuck and I came to live here in 2006. We bought a place on 21 West. I have worked for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a computing company. And I've worked there for 34 years. In fact, I just celebrated my 34th anniversary with the company a couple of weeks ago, which was super exciting. I have 6 left to go, and then I'm out. We have 4 children and 14 grandchildren. And I'm just super excited to be a part of this event tonight.
Thank you very much. Mr. Klontz, if you'd like to step up, please, and tell us about yourself and your background.
Well, I've been in business around here for quite a while, and I ranch and everything that goes along with that, and I'm a taxpayer. I've lived here all my life, graduated from Crockett High School. I was okay, not in the top, but then I went to A&M, got a degree in marketing, came back here, and I just wanted to remember a few things about what the hospital's been. I remember the old clinics that were in town, the Crockett Clinic, the old clinic that was torn down, and that was the doctors you went to. And then I can't remember what year the Houston County Hospital was built, but I remember it being over there by the King's Inn, and I know I can go to the part where it is, I think. And I remember going to the ER for stitches, and you had to wait on, at that, when it was first built, and you had to wait on your doctor. And mine was Dr. Smith, and he come when he wanted to. And then sometime later on, they started hiring an ER doctor. That way they had one on call all the time, where the doctors could take off. And, at that time also, I don't remember how big the hospital was, but they had childcare and everything else. My son was born there in 1981, just like a lot of other kids. And the King's Inn was still there about then. And then I guess ETMC come in, and that's when they bought the King's Inn, and the hospital grew from there. And now then we got a big hospital to take care of, a bigger one.
Thank you, Mr. Klontz. Ms. Crofton, if you will, please tell us about yourself and your background.
Sure. I'd like to begin tonight by thanking all of you who took the time and trouble to come out here. I appreciate it very much. Gives us an opportunity for you to hear about us and what our hospital's doing and what we can look forward to. I'd also like to thank the messenger and Greg Ritchie for organizing this and getting it all done. We appreciate it. It's an opportunity that we haven't had before, and it's great. I thank you very much. As for my background, those of you who know me know that I'm in the school business forevermore. I am a Houston County native. I was born in Weldon, Texas, and went to first grade there. Yeah. We moved around some. My father was a school administrator, but we came back to Lovelady. I was there for the last 3 years, and I graduated. Went off to SAM at age 17, and 3 years later, graduated. Took a job in the Pasadena School District. Stayed there 31 years, 10 years as a teacher counselor, 8 or 10 as an assistant principal, where you do discipline all day long. And then my school where I was principal was Sam Rayburn High School, school of 3,000 or so kids. And I stayed there for 12 years. Now, how did I get to Crockett? Quick. My dad's health was deteriorating. My husband was ready to retire and come to the land and cattle we bought all of our married lives. So we came, I retired, and we came. And my dad only lasted 2 months after I left Pasadena in July. And on the day of his funeral, the superintendent Crockett called me, and he had a junior high principalship that had been vacant for 6 weeks. And a long story, I stayed at Crockett, Kennard, did a year at Grapeland, 19 years. Okay, that's my background. What else have I done? I was on the board of directors for the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals, wrote position papers for them. I did school evaluation teams for the Texas Education Agency around the state. Been on the hospital board 10 years, love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Palmer, let's not get carried away. She made me do it. What are we, 9? All right, Mr. Klontz, if you will, sir, we'll have you start off this next question. And the question to you, sir, is what do you think the most important role is of a hospital district board member?
Well, I think a board member is an elected representative of the taxpayers and should make decisions in the best of the interests that we represent. Those we represent. Effective oversight of approximately 1.6 million tax revenue is the most important thing this board has to do. The board has nothing to do with the day-to-day operation of our hospital. I feel like any prudent businessman would like to keep a certain amount of our money in savings out of that board money in case we need to, have some sort of emergency, like a hospital provider might leave. That happened before. And so what if something happens, and we don't have enough money to pay our obligations? So that's the things that I think are most important of a board member, and maybe just talking about the questions that the public has, what my view is on it, and seeing how we could help that, solve it. So that was my idea.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Klontz. Ms. Carlson, if you'd like to take this question next, in your opinion, the most important role of a hospital district board member?
Okay. I see our most important role as doing everything in our power to keep a viable, critical access designated hospital for Crockett, Texas. Do what we can to have good health care available to all our citizens. I know you know the demographics of our county. We're a poor county, and our population is older than most of the counties. We're a large county, and we're aware that the end of the county down at Weldon, those people, of course, are probably going to go to Huntsville to the doctor. And I know the people in Ratcliffe are going to Lufkin. And as we have interviewed prospective operators of the hospital, I've tried to make that very clear to them. I want us to have good health care available to all of our citizens. We're a large employer. We have about 100 employees at that hospital. So for the economics of our county and our city, that hospital is important. But the main thing is the health care. And I also, of course, want to emphasize that the hospital board taxes that we collect help us. We are fully in charge of paying for the ambulance contract. And we're very fortunate to have a wonderful ambulance company with 3 trucks, and they do a wonderful job, just renewed with them lately. We also we're lucky. We have the heliopad on our campus for that air evac, and I could tell you several stories about people whose lives have been saved because it is there. And so we're very, very lucky to have that, and I can't say enough good things about that particular service. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carlson. Ms. Spellman, if you'd like to finish this question. For you, ma'am, the most important role that a hospital district board member should play?
That's a great question, and it's a very important question. And I have to say that I believe that it's important that we work together. A board has to work together. That's why you have a board. Everyone needs to come to the table. Each board member needs to do their due diligence. They need to check the facts. They need to know the numbers. They need to understand what the ins and the outs are, and they need to have respect for each other. And quite frankly, I have to say, this is probably the down spot of my talk tonight, is I'm very embarrassed about the way our current board currently disrespects each other, and the spite and the left and the right. And Tammy, you kind of talked about, the pros and the cons, and you've got this side and you've got that side. At the end of the day, the board is an elected group. We are responsible to make sure that we provide a good place to have health care for our community and bring that to our community. We have to stand up for our people. I have parents here, I have grandparents here, I have my husband here, I have my family here, and my friends here. And my commitment is to make sure that I help bring that unity together for this board, and that's my whole intention.
Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Crossan, if you'd like to lead us off on the next question. As has been talked about a little bit tonight, and as I know you just finished some of it, the most important factor when negotiating with a new hospital administrator, in the sense of someone that's going to run the administration of the hospital. Ms. Crossan, if you'd like to start
Okay.
first. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
In negotiations with another operator for our hospital, because we learned, I actually learned in October that the current operator wanted to go. He has stuck around till now. He wanted to find a replacement himself. We left him alone through December. In January, he said needs help. We started looking around. So what are we looking for? Having been on the board for over 10 years, I think the most important thing I was looking for, experience. I was looking for experience. And also, I wanted somebody that would run a full-service hospital, not just an emergency room. And that has to do with our critical access designation. Everybody says, why do you care about critical access? Because it brings in more money from Medicare. And that's helpful to us and to our citizens. I'm looking for sustainability. Will they stick around? Will they stay throughout the length of their contract and their lease for 5 years and then perhaps renew? And also, will they communicate with us as a board? I'm acutely aware that the board does not run the hospital, the operator does. But we do like to know everything that they can tell us about how things are going. So we're looking for hopefully a good communicator that will keep us informed at all times. I am not just optimistic, I'm confident that we will have a new operator in place at our hospital by May 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crossan. Ms. Spellman, if you'd like to take on this question next. Most important factor when negotiating with a new or existing hospital administrator.
Excellent. I have to say my wheelhouse is negotiations. I do very well in that area. I attribute a lot of that to my experience as in a global organization. I have worldwide responsibility for the operations division for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and our services. I think that a key part is to listen and to understand. Barbara, you said it, make sure that you know who they are, that they're trusted, that they have the experience. And then rely on your facts and do your due diligence. I said this before and I'll sound like a broken record, but due diligence is so important to really know who you're dealing with and who you're entrusting your family and your care to. It's super important. I feel like we've had, some part ways. Little River was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. And hopefully we'll never go back there, but it could happen. And where's our plan B? Do we have a plan B? And so in negotiating, I think that we have to clearly set some expectations. We need to expect and demand performance management reports from our provider that we select. We need to hold them accountable, and we need to be accountable to the people that elect us to this role. So for me, again, negotiations is listening, board working together, accountability, performance management reports, and communication back to taxpayers.
Thank you very much. Mr. Klontz, if you would like to give us our last response to this question, what you consider the most important factors when negotiating with a new or existing hospital administrator?
Well, like they all said, it's get the best contract. But once you get the contract, I always follow that contract. And I can't emphasize that enough. It only takes one time and the contract is breached. If they ask you to buy something and you do it when they were supposed to, well, that's a breach contract already. Another thing I consider important in these negotiations is the whole board being in on this decision in choosing this new provider, not just split. Also, each member should get to know the new operators and each one be involved in the decision making to take them on. I guess you call it vetting, see what they've done and their record and how they what they've done in other towns. Not just select few and leave, not just to select few and leave the rest of the board members out. Let everybody be involved. Also consider hiring a new lawyer for the hospital district. Don't use the same law firm as the company coming in. Get a lawyer that works for us, not for them. So that's some of my.
Very good. Thank you much, Mr. Klontz. All right, Ms. Spellman, if you'd like to take first crack at this next question, and that is, do you think the citizens in Houston County are taxed fairly and that income is used wisely? And what would you want to do to change or improve that?
Awesome. How many of us, when we opened our tax statements this year, went, right? I know I did. I didn't like it at all. But I cherish life and limb. I like money. I think money is important. I don't think there's a person in this room, in this town, in the world that will raise their hand and say, please raise my taxes. None of us are going to do that ever. All of us would raise our hand and say, please lower our taxes. We would all do that. But at what cost? And I think the cost is truly, truly important. I want to say that when I think about what we need in this hospital and to keep the doors opening and to bring specialty in and to make sure that our emergency room is there and to make sure we have a good contract with EMS and to make sure that we keep our helipad and to make sure that we have all of the availability for our community. It's our job as board members, and I'm talking like I'm already a board member and I'm not, but I sure am going to try to be, that it's our job to make sure that we're all working those things together and having that communication. So for me, that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Klontz, if you're up for it, we'll get you back to the podium very soon here and ask you the same question. Do you think
I got my notes.
got your notes? Do you think the citizens of Houston County are taxed fairly? Do you think that income is used wisely? What would you do to change or improve that?
Well, you said nobody likes a tax statement, but no, I don't think the citizens have been, I think the citizens have been overtaxed. There's been some wasteful spending taking place in this hospital. I would want to try to get a great provider that can successfully operate the hospital and without our tax dollars, and then lower the tax rate like it was when ETMC was here. Most of the current board is still the same ones that were on the board in 2015 when ETMC left. And I'm not trying to cut anybody down, but then the hospital district took over. They agreed to pay Community Hospital Corporation to manage the hospital with several $1 million left, and that was in the hospital district amount, saved, I guess, for these emergencies. So that money was depleted and more was borrowed. Most of the current board members, were on the board when that contract was signed. Were on the board when the money was borrowed, and a lot of them were on the board when the contract was signed with Little River Timberland. And they had to close, due to poor management. Well, just probably they were fraudulent anyway. And so they took us to the cleaners. And I think since they've had charges brought against them. So let's just make sure the contract with Mid-Coast, and I know that's who that is, wasn't handpicked by the current operator, Crockett Medical Center. And he bought the contract out. I mean, you know, they're gonna pay him out. To solve these problems, let every board member be included in such an important decision.
All right, Mr. Collins, thank you very much, sir. Ms. Crossan, to you, ma'am. Do you think the citizens of Houston County are taxed fairly and that income is used wisely? And what would you do to change your?
Thank you. I know what the tax rate is. It is the lowest third of all the hospital districts in the state of Texas. Keep that in mind. It is in the lowest third. It's 13 cents, and it's in the lowest third of all hospital districts in this state. I'm proud, very proud of the way our current board has judiciously paid off our enormous debt over this period of time. And now we are truly debt-free. We made the last payment of $500,000 to Prosperity Bank for the loan that we'd gotten from them in December. And we're so proud of that accomplishment. We're not interested in going to debt at all. I'm a taxpayer, and I know what it means to open that tax bill and to see it. But I'm confident that this board will judiciously take care of the budget, and we'll be careful to keep as much of our taxpayers' money free as we can. I think that a new operator that we're dealing with, that I'm confident is going to go with us, have told us that they will be responsible for all repairs. And that is very important because we're looking at a building that's not new. And I know in the last couple of years, we helped out our current operator with a cooling tower that had to be replaced because you couldn't cool the operating room. And we thought it'd be about $80,000, turned out to be $98,000, but we managed it and the cooling tower was installed. I am committed for our board, as long as I'm a member, to use the taxpayers' money judiciously. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klontz. All right, Mr. Klontz, if you will start us off again, sir, and the question to you, you have your notes. What is the greatest healthcare need in Houston County, and how can the hospital district board help alleviate that?
Well, I feel like we need a hospital that is fully functional in every way, and I guess that's what it's doing right now, you know. You got I hear there's some good health care. Luckily, I hadn't had to go. But, you know, we got the ambulance service, like they said, and I think it's fair to subsidize them or whatever we have to do. We got a good ER that saves many lives over the years, and we have to provide a state-of-the-art ambulance and ground and air. Also, our hospital provides employment to many in our community, and, you know, it takes skilled labor. And that's about all that I have.
Fair enough. Ms. Spellman, if you'd like to join us next at the podium, the question to you, ma'am, is what is the biggest healthcare need in your consideration in Houston County, and how can the hospital district help?
That's an easy one. I think we can all say it together. It's we need a hospital. We got to keep one. And that's what I believe. Everyone in this room believes that as well, that we need a hospital. So we're all in violent agreement there. I will say regarding the tax question that we asked a moment ago, no one wants to have their taxes raised. But if someone came to me and said, hey, Kim, I need to raise your taxes a couple of cents because this is what we're going to do with the hospital. And they provide me with a great plan that has solid due diligence and there's facts to back that up. And they explain to me what I'm getting for my tax dollars, that it may save life and limb of my family, and your family, and your children, and your children, then I would say yes. I wouldn't like it, but I would say yes. And I don't think, I hope, Buddy, that at some point we can lower taxes. But, I watch the market and it doesn't look like that's going to happen, right? Everything is going up. We try to absorb as much as we can, but I'm not sure that we can absorb the long goal of bringing in all those specialties at the current tax rate. I think we need to have a long goal, and we'll get there. So,
Thank you very much. And Ms. Krause, last to you. Our greatest healthcare need in Houston County, and how can the hospital district board help with that?
Why me?
No, ma'am.
No?
Number 5, the greatest health need in Houston County. What do you consider the greatest need as far as healthcare in Houston County? And how
In the
can
area of
this-
healthcare?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I think the greatest need is that we have a hospital that all of our citizens can access. I've already mentioned the demographics, and a lot of our people have difficulty driving to other venues. We're close by, they can get health care quickly. A new operator vows to extend services. We would love to have more surgeries. We would love to have an obstetrical wing. We would like a lot of things. I would love to see our services grow for the people of our county, for all the people of our county.
Well, if you'd like to stay at the podium, you can start our last question, which is exactly why
Why
you
me?
and why now?
Why me? Why not? Okay. I will let the voters decide that question. I'll just stand on the factors that I've discussed tonight. I care very much. I'm determined to see our hospitals succeed, and I want the best for our whole county population and for the economics of our city. We're a big employer. We really, really are. And so I would just ask that you consider all those activities when you go to vote. Another factor that's very important to me, and I will cite Dr. Stovall on this, because I learned a lot from working with John Stovall. He was on the board when the board first started in 1995. But from Stovall, I learned civility. There was always an air of civility, never raised his voice, and he always spoke clearly and concisely, and I valued that. And I also am interested in civility on our board and in our board meetings and in our dealings with the new operator that we anticipate. So I look forward to having your vote, and I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Krause. Mr. Klontz, if you would, sir, the question to you, why you and why now?
Got my notes again. I think change to the board might be vital, and now's the time to make a change. Let someone else have the chance to make some of these decisions. See what they can do, I know you got the experience there, but there's other people that can gain experience, and the only way you can gain it is to do it and to negotiate and different things. Also, maybe new ideas, get a board together that can communicate and make the best decisions for the community. I know it won't be an easy job, if I get elected, but it sure would help if the board works together. And that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klontz. And Ms. Spellman, if you would finish us off tonight.
Sure.
And the question to you, why you and why now?
Because I'm Kim Spellman, and I make changes, and I do good things. I am all about faith, family, and priorities. And I've been a member of Consolidated Water Supply Corporation Board of Directors for the last 7 years. When I walked into that board, we had about $60,000 in the bank, which was about 30 days left of water for 5,900 meters. We've done a lot of work, took a lot of effort, a lot of collective effort The board members didn't always agree, but the board members respected each other and worked together to bring that in. So I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of professional business experience. I'm different than anyone else on the board, and I'm excited and eager. I really want it bad. So that's why me.
Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for our candidates. Before we finish, Ms. Lum, do you have anything you'd like to say, or will you be outside, or?
I'll be outside.
Okay, Ms. Cynthia Lum is here from Houston County Elections Administrator, and she's right there. Just kind of wave, and don't wave any longer. You get the bell rung on you. I found that out. She'll be outside. Don't start. She'll be outside if anybody has any questions about where to vote, how to vote, and all the rest. And with that, we'll conclude. God bless everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much.
May the best man or best woman win.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.